Good morning and welcome to Arise News Now. I'm Gavin Ramjohn in London. It's Monday the 12th of August. And our top story at this hour, supporters of ousted President Mohamed Morsi gathered at the Rabaa al-Adawiya camp in Cairo this morning. They're remaining defiant against a warning that Egyptian police are set to take action against them imminently. It's feared the move could trigger more bloodshed. Paul Chapman reports.
Egyptian police said they'd move in at dawn to break up these protesters in Cairo. Their warning fell on deaf ears. Thousands staging sit-ins in support of ousted President Mohamed Morsi stayed put regardless on Sunday night.
This is a sit-in for all the sons of Egypt, and any attempt to besiege it or impose a slow death by cutting off water or food or electricity is a crime, and anyone responsible will be held accountable. Also, any attack or the killing of Egyptians because of political differences which the police and army are doing now will be punished and could ignite all of Egypt.
Morsi's supporters, mainly from the Muslim Brotherhood, have turned places like this into something resembling fortresses. Sandbags and brick walls block the entrances to the two squares the security forces would likely target. The sites are the main flashpoint areas in the confrontation between the army and supporters of Morsi, whom it toppled.
So let's cross now to Erica Aisha Chavez, who's our current affairs blogger based in Cairo. Erica, good morning to you. You've been out and about in Cairo over the weekend, haven't you? Describe to us the atmosphere within the city and how much tension there is in the protest camps.
Well, outside of the protest camp area, outside of Nasser City, it was like the normal Eid weekend. People were picnicking, enjoying themselves. There was a lot of events for kids everywhere. And inside Rabaa al-Adawiya itself, we saw a lot of similar things. There were rides for kids, families everywhere, people picnicking inside Rabaa al-Adawiya. It takes up a large space and probably one of the most important arterials in the area of Nasser City. And it was absolutely an immense complex of, as you said, sandbags, armed guards. I didn't see anyone with actual weapons. They would usually just have sticks instead of guns at their entrance, like 20 or 30 men wearing hard hats and that sort of thing. So in one area, you'd find people looking as though they were ready for battle. And in the center, you'd find women chanting slogans against Sisi and for the government, and kids playing on sort of carnival rides.
And we can see some of your photos now, Erica. Talk to us about what you saw when you were taking those pictures and what the feeling was like there then.
You know, I didn't feel comfortable taking pictures of too many things other than signs, because that's what other people were taking pictures of. And the two signs that I took pictures of, they showed, one gentleman was holding a sign that showed an ayat, verse from the Quran, that said, if you kill believers, you'll go to hell. It cursed the government and said that people needed to stand by Morsi and do the right thing no matter what. Another picture was really sort of graphic. It showed General Sisi riding on a unicycle with spikes on it over people in front of the pyramid. So I think that sort of speaks for itself. The one next to it shows the word Egypt in Arabic being choked by a snake. So in the area near the stage, they had really graphic posters. People were really angry, shouting very angry slogans, both against General Sisi and the government.
So more action threatened then from the Interior Ministry today. What are the Muslim Brotherhood saying about this?
Well, we started hearing about this last night, sort of specific. We should clear it in the morning. We plan to clear it tomorrow. There have always been a lot of rumors on the street. Anyone who knew someone in police would ask them, what do you expect to happen? And it'd always be like, oh, I have an inside source. First, they're going to cut off electricity and water. And then that wouldn't quite come to pass as quickly as they seem to think. So today they've said again the same thing. They expect to cut off electricity and water. They plan on going and clearing it, but we have yet to see if it will actually happen. And there were so many women and children and families, particularly in the center, that it's hard to believe that that could happen without killing a lot of people.
Erica, thank you very much indeed for that update. Now, just days before the resumption of long-awaited Israeli-Palestinian peace talks, Israel has authorized the construction of 1,200 new settlements in the West Bank. It's a move that's likely to reinforce doubts among Palestinians about an Israeli commitment to a viable Palestinian state. The issue of settlement building halted the last direct peace negotiations 3 years ago. Israeli Housing Minister Uri Ariel confirmed that 800 apartments would be built in East Jerusalem and nearly 400 in several large West Bank settlements. In order to get the Palestinians to agree to the talks, Israel approved the release of more than 100 Palestinian prisoners. The first group is expected to be freed tomorrow. Now, Robert Mugabe is due to give his first public speech since winning Zimbabwe's controversial presidential election. He'll address a Heroes' Day celebration in the capital Harare to commemorate those who died during the country's War of Independence. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Morgan Tsvangirai is boycotting the event. He's calling for the presidential election to be reheld and has lodged a legal challenge over the result, which his party claims was rigged by Mugabe's ZANU-PF party. The president is yet to be sworn in for a 7th consecutive term while the appeal is ongoing. And later on, we'll be speaking to our South Africa correspondent, Shahan Ramkissoon, who'll have the latest on that story for us. Now, in Mali, poll workers are counting votes following yesterday's high-stakes presidential runoff. Former Prime Minister Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta is tipped to claim the difficult job of stabilising the West African nation after more than a year of turmoil. The winner of the vote will be able to draw on more than $4 billion in foreign aid promised to rebuild the country after a French-led military intervention in January overcame al-Qaeda-linked rebels occupying the desert north. So let's now speak to our correspondent in South Africa, Shahan Ramkissoon, who's been following all the latest developments in the Zimbabwe elections. Shahan, good to speak to you. Mr. Mugabe delivering his first post-election speech then. What will he be saying to the audience in attendance?
Well, given that it's on Heroes' Day, and of course Heroes' Day is about the people who died in the 1970s fighting for the independence of Zimbabwe, he's bound to talk rhetoric here and really take more jabs at the past colonial rulers. And currently the West is also bound to boast about his election victory. As far as ZANU-PF is concerned, they won outright. There was no vote rigging according to them. So this is the chance for Robert Mugabe to go out there and speak to thousands of people about why he should be president and really boast about it.
So Heroes' Day then in the capital. What is the celebration all about and what is the symbolism of Mr. Mugabe speaking on this day?
Well, it's one of the most important days in Zimbabwe. It's commemorated every year, and it really is about remembering those who died in the 1970s fighting for independence. Gavin, the one thing that's come out in Zimbabwe, and quite notably, while many people are going to be at this celebration, the widows of those killed are believed to be living really poor lives out in squalor, relying on a $100 pension from the government. So they're not too happy, despite the country celebrating their family members who fought for independence. They're not living the life that they want to live. So that's the contradiction here in this whole thing. Thousands of people will go out. The MDC says that it won't be going to celebrate Heroes' Day, that they'll be doing it themselves. They could do it at home if they wanted, but they won't be supporting this event because they don't believe it's what those people who died for back in the 70s wanted here and this day in 2013.
So usually Mr. Mugabe talks about old colonial powers and the effect on the country from those outside influences. Will he be focusing on that or more on internal rifts this time round?
Well, he's bound to start with that. Robert Mugabe always speaks about, the past whenever he gets the chance. It's one of the reasons he's in power for so many years. 33 years is a long time, and he relies on that, on the past, and how they had to fight off a white rule to actually get his voters every year and every other year and his supporters. So he's bound to speak about the past and rhetoric in particular. But let's look at the country. He probably will, because he's going to have to speak about his election promises. And one of it was indigenization, where he says that foreign-owned companies in Zimbabwe will have to give up a majority share to local black owners. And lots of his supporters want that to start to happen. And ZANU-PF says that it will. So this is his chance to actually reach out to the people who did vote for him and make good on his promise.
And briefly, Shahan, we've heard some updates on Mr. Mandela's condition, Nelson Mandela in South Africa, of course. Do we know any more on how he's progressing?
Well, the presidency issued a statement yesterday saying that he is steadily improving, but they stressed that he's still in a critical condition. And then his daughter, Zinzi Mandela, spoke to local media last night as well, and she said to them that Nelson Mandela is aware and that he does sit upright for a couple of minutes a day, and they're really optimistic about his health.
Shahan Ramkissoon, thank you very much indeed for that. Now, police are searching for migrant escapees after a riot broke out in Amigadaleza detention camp, Greece's main holding centre for illegal immigrants. The riots broke out late on Saturday night when the detainees were told that the maximum holding period would be extended to 18 months from a year previously.
Greek police were still looking for migrant detainees who escaped during rioting at a holding centre late on Saturday. The violence erupted when the 1,620 detainees were told they'd been held up for 18 months instead of a year. Police said 10 of the prisoners escaped. They said guards came under a hail of water, bottles and stones from the prisoners who set fire to rubbish bags and the mattresses. 10 guards were also wounded. The unrest was quelled by riot police who fired tear gas to disperse the crowd. Most of the detainees are from Afghanistan and Pakistan. Greece has long been criticised by human rights groups over the poor conditions at such reception centres. It also approves very few asylum applications. Anti-foreigner sentiment has also been rising since the country's economic crisis erupted, pushing up unemployment to 25% of the workforce. Lance Santos, Arise News.
Now to sports. Usain Bolt has regained his World 100 metres crown in style at the World Championships in Moscow, storming to victory in a season's best time of 9.77 seconds. And the Jamaican did so in heavy rain at the Luzhniki Stadium, cementing his status as the greatest sprinter in history. The six-time Olympic champion overtook Justin Gatlin in the final stages, forcing the American to settle for silver. Bolt's compatriot Nesta Carter claimed bronze, while Britain's James Asolu was eighth. Well, after the race, Bolt paid tribute to his team after some setbacks in his performances this season, and then went to claim he wanted to be remembered as one of the greats and even hoped for a career in professional football.
I'm going to try to continue winning championships. I want to be among the greats after I retire from track and field. Pele, Maradona, Muhammad Ali, all these guys, I want to be mentioned amongst these greats when I retire from the sport. And I definitely want to try and still play football. Definitely, hopefully, it will be Manchester United, but I think I have some skills, so we'll see in the near future.
Wait and see on that one, eh? Now, Jason Dufner has held his nerve to win a first major championship in golf with victory at the US PGA Championship at Oak Hill. The 36-year-old American overhauled fellow American Jim Furyk with a final round 68 to win by 2 shots at 10 under. Furyk led overnight, but 71 wasn't good enough to add to his 2003 US Open. Henrik Stenson was 7 under, with fellow Swede Jonas Blixt 6 under. The win for Dufner will banish the memories of losing the 2011 US PGA when he squandered a lead of 5 with 4 holes to go. Congratulations to him. And finally, usually it's the driver of a taxi who gets to boast about the customers in his taxi. But for one afternoon in Oslo, it was the passengers' turn to say, "You'll never guess who I had in the front of my cab." Customers in Norway were stunned when they realised they were being chauffeured around by the Prime Minister, Jens Stoltenberg. The PM went all out wearing a full uniform and even a badge in a sneaky stunt to hear what voters really think. Although Mr. Stoltenberg had all the gear, his driving let him down at times. He admitted to not having driven for 8 years and at one point mistook the brake pedal for the clutch. Great scenes there. What a stunt that is. Now, don't forget you can contact us online anytime. We're at the usual places, arise.tv, on Facebook, on Twitter, and on the YouTube channel as well. Thanks very much for watching. We'll be back soon with more updates.